One of the biggest investment misconceptions, in my opinion, is the idea that you need to diversify your assets in order to become wealthy. And I think that's a lie. Of course, I'm just some guy filming on an iPhone in his house. So if you want to know how to get rich from an actual rich person or what to do with wealth, go to a rich person, right? I'm not that guy. But when I've watched these interviews from rich people on the internet, they always say that when they were younger, they wish they'd taken the risks then. And the idea is basically that you focus your attention to get rich and diversify to secure that wealth. Because spreading your bets thin across loads of assets gives you thin wins. And I coined that myself. And it's the most risk-averse option in all of investing. What we don't want right now to get wealthy is risk-averse, right? And I speak for myself only here, but the idea of specializing, having specialist knowledge, understanding technology, and understanding human behavior, then making investing decisions based on that understanding is a lot harder to do. And I always say, when something's a lot harder to do, it's probably for a reason. Things don't come easy. Wealth doesn't come easy in this life. But this video isn't about focusing your attention or specializing on technology. It's about what we do after the wealth comes in. It's about spreading your assets when you are wealthy and you actually have something to lose. Or in my case, when crypto goes to Jupiter. So if you subscribe to the same mentality I have, that seeks to see huge growth in my net worth and then secure it for future generations, here are 5 assets you might want to explore. And the first one is real estate.
It's free real estate.
Now, I'm not talking about this typical buy a buy-to-let home and buy one home or one apartment and then that will create some passive income. The wealth that we're talking about after cryptocurrency does what it's supposed to do and the assets do what they're supposed to do that we're holding, it'll allow for a whole different type of real estate investing. I'm not talking about houses, apartments, condos. I'm talking about building complexes with hundreds of apartments within. When we have this level of wealth, we're able to operate with banks in a completely different way. We're able to co-invest in these massive buildings with banks who have done their due diligence and have management teams already built into the building. So you're essentially coming in as the main beneficiary to that building without having to do any management on top. And because we might be getting this cash flow coming in constantly, we may have the opportunity to do these larger deals with buildings more often than you're imagining. And so these types of buildings could be a real good earner, at least a stable earner over time. It's stable and it's essentially an endless cash flow. Number 2 is the stock market. Much like real estate, the stock market's been around for forever, it feels like. And when you're investing into the likes of the S&P 500, you're basically securing like a 7 to 8% yield year on year forever. And honestly, there's not much to say about stocks here because we've heard it all before, right? This is old news, but it's something we have to consider once we have the wealth, because it's one of those asset classes that is extremely stable and we can spread nice and thin and not have to worry about it. And if we're preserving wealth, that's the key trait of an asset class. But here's something a lot more interesting. Number 3, digital assets. And what I'm about to say here, if you're joining this channel and you've got no context of previous content, this is probably going to blow your mind. But for everyone who's normally here, you've heard me say this before. Almost everything I own, the majority of my net worth, post-pump or post-wealth, will be in XRP. XRP is a digital asset that will make up the new financial system. For me personally, this is the asset that I have researched, understood, and invested in as a result. This is my specialism. This is my ticket to wealth, but also my ticket to passive income, cash flow, and future generational wealth. So how does it do both of those things? Well, let me roll a clip from a recent interview I was on Good Morning Crypto, where I talked about this exact topic.
Take your ledger, your cold storage wallet. This is somewhat symbolic. You might not actually take it, but anyway, you take it into BlackRock and you say, hey, I got 200,000 XRP, whatever you have. And they go, geez, 200,000, really? You've got more than we have. You've got more than we were allocated by the IMF. And you go, yeah, do you want to use it to grow your portfolio? I'll let you have custody of it if you give me some interest. So every month goes on. We're hearing rumors of 7 to 12% interest, probably higher if you've got more money for a higher portfolio value. You can go in there anytime, get foot rubs, lemonade, whatever you want. You get the boss of BlackRock to give it to you as well. This is the kind of position we'll be in, and they'll be giving you CBDC at the time, or whatever you agree in your contract with them. They'll be giving you that as an interest monthly And guess what? You haven't touched a single token.
So as I alluded to on that video, letting go of the tokens that actually are the reason you're wealthy in this instance is the last thing you want to do. You reduce your power to earn, your ability to earn, and increases the chances the asset you converted into, let's say it's just cash, crashes out of nowhere and you lose all of your worth instantly. Whereas if you hold these assets, you don't only put yourself into the top 1% of all people in the world financially, but it enables you to be able to borrow against your assets for lump sums of cash if you ever need it. And then you'll be giving custody of those assets to banks in order to generate an interest yield every single month that creates this immense cash flow. And the most wonderful thing about all of that is that in that whole process, you don't need to sell a single token, not a drop. Number 4 is precious metals. So we all know the market seems to be spiraling down to the bottom. And what many people think is that the great reset of this whole financial system, and basically of the whole globe, is upon us. And if that great reset does take place, holding value in a stable asset class is going to be so important. And I believe precious metals like gold and silver are the assets to be looking for. The difficulty we're about to see is that silver and gold and all the precious metals are likely to undergo a re-evaluation in the new year. This will be to marry up to the new system, the new world financial system, to account for all the debt and everything. We have to have a re-valuation of these precious metals, especially if these precious metals are going to back the new world reserve currency, which I alluded to in number 3 of this video. The problem is that might happen a little bit sooner. It might happen as the Great Reset happens, the valuation goes up for all these precious metals, then we have the wealth, and then we buy the precious metals, which isn't a terrible thing because gold and silver have always stood the test of time. But certainly in the short term, if we're looking for an increase in the value of our precious metal assets, buying precious metals sooner rather than later still might be a good idea too, and might contribute to that new level of wealth that you have. Gold and silver is a wealth preserver. And in this very unique instance, right now in this moment in time, could also be a wealth creator with the reevaluation. In my opinion, 1 ounce silver coin Britannia is an ideal investment. You can also get the 1 ounce gold Britannia, which is VAT free and capital gains tax free. And I didn't mention, but the 1 ounce silver Britannia coin is also capital gains tax free. And I buy those Britannias on bullion by post. And you can see how you can get a 1 ounce silver Britannia coin for free using the link below. But now you're definitely thinking, okay, so I knew about real estate, I knew about crypto, I knew about stocks, I knew about precious metals even. What's the 5th one? Art. A little while ago, I saw 2 people, small celebrities, Beyonce and Jay-Z, discussing their art collection. And I always viewed this as kind of like this thing that you do when you've got too much money, you don't know what to spend it on, you just go and buy art. And after some recent discoveries, I realized that's a really smart wealth diversification move. And it performs a lot better than some of the options I've already given on this list. It's a really good investment. So when you have this kind of money, you could obviously hire experts to teach you about art. And so you can learn the trends in the art space. Much like watching people on YouTube discuss crypto so that you can learn. And some of them are really good and some of them aren't. Alternatively, just like you've taken crypto by the horns and you've done your deep dives and you've done your researching all yourself, you are the one responsible for this wealth that's incoming. Why wouldn't you do the same with art? And that brings me to the sponsor of this video, Masterworks. Which, considering I was going to make this video anyway regardless, the fact that they reached out forced me to continue looking into art to realize how amazing the opportunity is. This is a perfect sponsorship for the video. On Masterworks, you can join an exclusive community of people learning how to invest in blue chip art. And I thought this was incredible, but art is drastically outperforming the S&P 500. And not just the S&P 500, gold and bonds too. And you can even look at the ROI year on year in comparison to those other areas, especially if you're looking at contemporary art, which is the highest yielding art asset class. And then once you're done learning, you can actually buy shares. It's basically like fractionalized art. You can buy shares of these big art pieces by the likes of Pablo Picasso and Banksy. Then of course you earn an interest yield on those art holdings or art stocks. So if you're going to take the bull by the horns in this new asset class that I think is the first time we suggested this on this channel, request your invitation to learn with Masterworks. It's all very exciting and it's going to start, trust me, it's going to start feeling very emotionally driven. Decisions are going to be harder, but if you have a plan, not just a plan to get wealthy, but also a plan to diversify, you're in good stead. But remember, at all times, stay emotionless, and I'll see you in the next one.